UDP scanning is kind of the other side of the fence from TCP scanning. UDP, standing for User Datagram Protocol, is a connectionless-oriented protocol that is a best effort delivery, where TCP is a connection-oriented data delivery guaranteed. So, the problem we run into with UDP-based services, we're only going to scan for things that respond via UDP. It's going to be less reliable than TCP scanning because remember, if it's connectionless-oriented and the service is not really going to care if we successfully received or sent any information, meaning that it's going to be a lot less reliable when we're trying to determine if that service is present. Oftentimes, UDP or ICMP-based packets are blocked at the firewall level and even at the host level in some cases. But I want to take a moment to discuss the dynamics of UDP scanning on a target network. So imagine for a moment that you decide to do a UDP scan. There are several different problems that are going to arise during that process. The first of which is you can scan across the board for UDP. So let's say you start out at port 1. Port 1 is closed. So therefore, the host is going to send an ICMP unreachable back to you. And that's great, so we know that port is closed because we didn't get a UDP response back. Well, unfortunately, we will never get a UDP response back because that is how the UDP protocol works. So we'll keep scanning and we'll keep getting ICMP unreachable requests until we find a service that is running UDP, let's say on port 21. 21 will not reply back if it successfully received the data, because UDP, again, doesn't care about the connection. So we can only assume that because it doesn't reply back, that it is in fact open. Well, the problem with that is maybe the ICMP reply got lost somewhere in the transmission process. Well, in general, your scanner will retransmit the UDP packet to the host on that port and wait for the timeout process. So we really don't know that it's open because it never told us that port was open. We can only assume that it might be open because we didn't get a response. So some administrators or highly skilled security professionals will purposely configure ports to not respond to UDP scanning. So when it really comes down to it, we really don't know what we have, even with extensive UDP scanning results. Unfortunately, ICMP scanning is going to fall much in the same boat, except it's more noisy than a Connect scan in some scenarios, meaning that it would be picked up very easily. ICMP scanning is also called ping scanning or scanning through for host identification or host presence. And the idea is we just send out a bombardment of pings across the board to every node that could potentially be on a network. And based on the replies that we get back from live hosts, then we can actually determine, hey, they're listening for ICMP traffic, and we might attempt to do some exploits based on that. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of ICMP-based exploits running around. This is generally going to be used just for network enumeration. So we want to go out and say host A is up, host B is up, and host C are all replying from ICMP. That's a guaranteed shot that they're running on the network and could potentially be a target for us. Intrusion detection systems are always listening for network scans. In addition, a lot of network scanners provide support for it, but don't have a way to make it silent. So be aware, this is a great way to alert a security administrator that a scan is taking place.